Because ultimately it comes back to that delegation of authority and jurisdiction issue. And in the enabling documents of 1906 for the Department of Agriculture Forest Service, these guys are the nasty ones. They life more than the Department of Defense, and they are right now. Their enabling act says two things. That's all they're allowed to do. A is through timber harvesting and grazing on public lands. B, supply a watershed that's continuous and of quality to the urban areas. It doesn't say go out and steal land from counties and states for leopard frogs. It doesn't say declare humanless zones. And it all gets back to those key things. Delegation of authority and jurisdiction. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. NEPA, right here I told you about, that's a whole act. So it's just called the National Environmental Policy Act. Powerful. It trumps every agency's internal operating manual. Plain and simple. That's how it's for. Sometimes I kind of skip around with my magic mouse here, so bear with me. Here's the CEQ I kept mentioning. President's Council of Environmental Quality. Agencies shall cooperate to the fullest extent possible to reduce duplication of effort. I'm just giving you exact quotations from there. And here's some examples. The fullest extent possible include joint planning processes, flying in from Washington and handing the state or the county or the soil and conservation district or whatever a book and saying here's what we're going to do is not joint planning. And this has all been upheld in court hundreds of times. Joint environmental research and studies. Joint public hearings. How many times have you seen that go on lately? Next to none. You find out about the action when the reporter says, oh, this new thing's going to take effect. Boom, it's gone. Right there. I'm just going to give you some of the cool ones here. This is all quotes from federal statute again. Oh, this is a good one. Integrated Resource Management Guide. Now, this is mainly us, but look at your Forest Service region. The state is broken into regions, the country. Like, we have New Mexico and Arizona in it. So right here, look this up. And each one, we're Region 3 where I live. And look up your region, just go into the United States Forest Service.gov. Click on the map. It'll tell you what region you're in. Every one of them has an integrated resource management guide. All of them. You have to have coordination. Look at here. To comply with all of the NEPA and National Forest Management Act requirements, Federal Forest Service employees should consider develop memorandums of understanding how joint planning will be carried out, become familiar with local government requirements. There's your land use plans, your wildland-urban interface, soil and water conservation district. Invite local agency participation on all proposed actions in writing early in the process, not at the end. See? Here's an executive order George Bush signed, Jr. The purpose of this order is to ensure the Department of the Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, and Defense, and the EPA, covered a lot of ground there, implement laws relating to the environment and natural resources in a manner that promotes cooperative conservation with an emphasis on appropriate inclusion of local participation in federal decision making. And it's over and over and over again. These are things that, see my title up here, coordination and cooperation with counties. This is how I started with city and county governments that now backing me and having myself and my alliance do all their work representing them to the federal agencies. And we write it, we show them the research because they have faith and we've proven our track record. They put it on county and state letterhead. The Senate of Arizona just turned out 4 letters for me before I left out here. On Senate letterhead, it's done. It's mailed off to Washington. So when you get a report and you show that you have the research and a handle on it, okay, they're going to like it because you're not pissed off constituent griping at him every public meeting. And it's serious. A lot of this works this way. And at the same time, they don't have to do the work. They're going to push it off on you, or you and your friends, or you and your friends. And you're going to draft the letter, the one paragraph. Now here's what's neat. You've turned in that paragraph I talked about during the comment period, right? When they're done with whatever action it is, and whoever's writing the action, they come out with an EIS statement and then a record of decision. Okay? Because you have standing, because you submitted a comment into the draft period, you have standing. It's like if you have standing in court, that's what it is. Because you have standing, now you have a powerful tool that a private stakeholder group, a city or county can use. It's called equal access to justice. And what this involves, this is under the Department of Justice out of Washington. What it means is every agency out there, every department has a legal budget for the year. And this pays for all the little lawyer cronies to run around and do their bidding. When you have standing because you submitted a comment during the explanatory period, the draft statement period, you now can sue them with their own money.
Nice.
Okay? Equal access to justice. It's so that you aren't stymied. You've got the math, you've got the proof, but you don't have the funds. You and Mike, you all got together. And your local little city has proven something. You don't have, let's say, $1 million to buy a lawyer to smoke these guys, right?
Equal access to what?
Equal access to justice. And right now, a group we've set up with quite well just had their first victory in New Mexico doing it.
Yes.
2 local users that were both on water and soil conservation districts both told their local prospective committees about this plan in their local area, Fish and Wildlife Service in this case. They both said, yeah, we are a coordinating agency, let's turn in a comment. They ignored all their input and want to proceed with the plan anyway. So now they just won about 3 weeks back using their own money. This is just a tool to fight fire with fire. The environmental groups, besides getting billions of dollars from people like Bill and Melinda Gates, they constantly do this. That's why you see that literally thousands a year of lawsuits against federal agencies from environmental groups. The reason they can afford it is they pay these new lawyers right out of school. They've groomed through college through their education. And because they're new and they come right on staff, they're only getting like $75 an hour. I say only, but think of the field, that's not much. But they're allowed to bill out at like Bacon Davis wages, anybody do construction and stuff. So they're collecting from the Department of Justice $200 an hour. And all the residual goes in their coffers. So they'll sue a federal agency for their socialist agenda and make money on it at the same time through equal access to justice. Now, we talk about, you guys got to talk, you're right. This one's really, you're going to like this one. I want you to look this up. See, we don't just tell you and whine and bellyache about the New World Order. I'm trying to give you solutions. Here's another one. U.S. Attorney's Manual. That's what USAM means. Title 9, Section 665, Determining Federal Jurisdiction. They warn their own agents. This is the whole section. This one paragraph right here. And this is a practice tip, as in the practice of law. When instances are reported to the United States Attorney of offenses committed on land or in buildings occupied by agencies of the federal government, unless the crime reported is a federal offense, regardless of where committed, the United States has jurisdiction only if the land or buildings is within the special territorial jurisdiction of the United States. Remember Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Practice tip. A convenient method for determining the jurisdictional status is to contact an appropriate attorney with the agency having custody of the land. Well, that's almost impossible for them to do or you to do. You don't know who all's involved, right? If the land is other than a military base, so most of what we deal with in day-to-day life, The Regional Counsel's Office of the General Services Administration, GSA, you may have heard of it before, okay? They're broken down just like the circuit courts. We have the Ninth Circuit Court in Frisco, and that's where our GSA is at. You write them. In our case, we had this nice little young Asian attorney, and she just said, would you please email me a request? I'm sending you a PDF anyway of Arizona, but email me a request so I get bonus points for my FOIA at the end of the year so she could show she fulfilled so many in her department. That's all it took. It was a phone call. And we got it. The whole state of Arizona broke down by county, by agency, who owns what. Because it's all that is proper. The General Services Administration keeps track of how many pencils the government owns, battleships, buildings, land, it doesn't matter. Okay? So go to their website, GSA. You'll see they can typically or frequently provide a definitive answer to jurisdiction. Now, of course, if it's a military base, you go to the post judge advocate, the JAG guys. Okay? Now look at here, they even warn their own people. Each United States attorney would be well advised to request from each agency within the district a report on the jurisdictional status claim for each of its facilities and assurance that documentation is available. Because if they don't have it, they lose. There are hundreds and hundreds of court cases. I did I think it was 12 hours long, I don't remember all of them, but in a lack of federal jurisdiction audio series I did, hour segments, at night, proving this. I did 600 court cases in that one audio series alone. Okay, to give you an idea of a quick example, post office in the old territorial capital, Prescott, Arizona, but this is new case. A drunk Indian guy murdered somebody on the steps. So they instantly went after him. Oh, we got a federal offense. It's a post office, and most people would buckle and say, oh yeah, that's true, post office. Well, the state of Arizona stepped in and said, hold up, we didn't cede that land to you. See, here's the problem. The post office land that was ceded was down the block, about 2 blocks down. And they didn't like the old building anymore, so they built this new one. And the land was never ceded to them. The case was thrown out. So then the Fed said, well, aren't you going to prosecute anyway? And they said, no. You were the one making it a federal crime. It's not a federal crime. It wasn't on federal property. No. The act of the state assembly, they didn't say that this new lot is given to you in category 1 through 5. And an act of Congress assembled didn't say, oh, we're going to take that piece now. Another good example, the cutbacks have left open a lot of military bases. Falcon Field, famous from World War II airfield down in Phoenix, the capital area there, it was closed. Well, the Department of Defense came in about 5 years back and said, oh, well, now that we're done emptying it, we're going to sell it. And the state said, hey, hold up. Look at our little contract from World War II. And it's clearly said that when you were done using it, it reverts back to us. Never went to court. It was done. The state took it. They sold it off and made it an industrial complex for manufacturers. Actually made some money off of it, as far as bringing jobs into the area. So at state levels, county levels, personal levels, jurisdiction's the fact. So go back. Here's your U.S. Attorney's manuals telling their own attorneys, you better check first. See if you even have jurisdiction. Some of the websites, because I see a clock back there, so I don't want to cut you out on some of the other solutions that we spoke about this evening and sources. So that gives you, remember, this is a shotgun effect tonight. Our sovereignty course is a week long. We just finished doing a week long one in PA. But you got the nuts and bolts. You saw it's powerful, you saw it's fact. There's hundreds of court cases supporting it. And we're doing it. You don't see us losing. We're making weapons in Arizona outside of ATF jurisdiction because they're not going outside of the state, so they don't have jurisdiction. They're staying within to Arizonans. See? Yeah, I know, it's mind-numbing, huh? And you just don't learn it. Now I'm educating the senators. One of the largest water grabs in Western history we just